Hi, welcome to the What's New in Custom Tools 2024 webinar. I am Simo Erkinheimo, I'm the product manager of Custom Tools, and as my wingman I have our product director Tero Salonen, who will be collecting and going through your questions. So this webinar will be recorded and made publicly available via our YouTube channel, and the link will be emailed for all the registrants. So today I'm going to go through new additions in Custom Tools 2024, and I expect this webinar to take about 30 minutes, and at the end we will have a Q&A session. And due to the small delay we might have here, please post your questions as soon as something comes to your mind. Now, like always, I like to start with a very quick Custom Tools introduction. So Custom Tools is in fact a product family, and often when someone says Custom Tools, they usually refer to Custom Tools for SolidWorks. But we also have a task add-in for PDM Professional and an e-drawings based viewer application. And all these three work together within the same design team environment and have a many common features and capabilities. And from these many capabilities we are especially known from advanced custom property management, sheet metal tools, reporting, ERP integrations, and batch processing. I know there's a lot going on the screen right now, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but if something here tickles your mind, so just post a question and we'll go through that at the end. Custom Tools is designed to optimize data management and automate designers' routines, which directly affects both the productivity of the designers and quality of your design data. And when you have consistency, you can have advanced automation and ERP integrations. So that was the introduction, and the rest of the agenda is here. The new features, of course, live demo, somewhat business central focused, followed by a quick poll and the Q&A session. Let's start. First we have material properties. So you can now combine a lookup list with your SolidWorks material selection, which allows you to define up to 15 additional properties for each SolidWorks material and automatically pull that information to your custom properties on material chains. So here's an example for having just a simple toxicity information, but also a recyclability factor that is then used in an arithmetic combination to calculate recyclable weight out of the total weight. As we are very good with those Excel-based reports, this might be useful for something like a sustainability and waste management report you might need to do nowadays. But of course you might also have other use cases when you need to have some special logic or special values behind selection of specific materials. Combination properties is exactly the same. It's a bit like a byproduct of implementing the material properties, but the combo content is the Custom Tools combinations rather than SolidWorks materials. Adding extra properties for those simply allows further property automation that is only limited by your imagination. Reorder batch operation templates. So if you are utilizing those templates, you might be using them, specific ones in different stages of your design process. So being able to order them based on your process steps might be very handy. Reordering is done at the options using quite intuitive drag and drop operations. Custom scopes it's not a very well-known feature, I think. But if you use Excel reports or export integrations, they can be very, very useful. You can use them to define, for instance, routines or manufacturing steps of your components, variant information for properties, non-modeled components to your BOM, which I like to call virtual items. And these are just few examples what those freely configurable additional entries could describe. And as you can now use colors and dictionary properties with them as well, and database item search, which takes these custom scopes to a whole nother level, because you can add those virtual items to your design BOM by searching them from your ERP system. Combined with the quantity property that is also new, you can also define the item quantity for those rows, and this can all be used in the export view with different reports and ERP integrations. So Custom Tools has a few different built-in integrations that can be enabled with a separate license, and Odoo ERP integration is one of those. Although we always try to implement our integrations so that they be as future-proof as possible, but sometimes we need to adjust a bit if on when new versions of the ERPs are released. So if you had an existing Odoo database, you should be fine at least for a while, but new databases will be created used with the latest version, and that will not work properly with older custom tools versions now. So Odoo ERP version 17 is now supported in Custom Tools 2024, but also in 23 SP2, which was released at the same time. Similarly to Odoo integration, we also have Microsoft Business Central integration that is a separately licensed built-in solution. So the issue with Odoo came a bit out of the blue, but with Business Central we have been adjusting for major upcoming changes for quite a lot longer. So Microsoft announced deprecation of the SOAP API, which is the basis of our old integration, which means that we had to build completely new one using the OData API. So for the time being, the new and the legacy integration can actually be used side by side for easy migration, and there is no known schedule in which version Microsoft completely removes the SOAP API, but when it does, it will effectively break the legacy integration. So that was why we had to do this. But let me tell you how we did this is a big deal, and we did some major improvements not only to Business Central integration, but for everything we can do with Custom Tools export in the future. There are so many things that we did that, no kidding, I actually wrote this 50-page white paper describing it all. So what is Custom Tools, how can it be used to integrate SolidWorks and or PDM with Business Central, but also there's a very important chapter describing Business Central for heads of design departments, because it's very important to understand the linkage between a CAD component, its revisions, configurations, and the Business Central item, possible item variants, different BOMs, when they can be or can't be modified, and so on. So this is all knowledge you simply need to have regardless of the integration solution used between these systems. Contact me info@customtools.info or sales@customtools.info, and I will be more than happy to share this document with you. And don't worry, those 50 pages have a lot of big pictures. So let's quickly go through these. Performance and configurability has significantly improved from the previous version, as the new API is simply faster to interact with. The NO series, you might have hundreds of those, and usually the filtering was done as a custom solution, but that's now also built-in solution. Assembly BOM integration was introduced, so production BOM integration we already had, but now both of them work a bit more safely when it comes to BOM line ownership. Export field specific operation control means we can ignore item card, assembly BOM, production BOM operations separately based on specific field values. For example, like blocked items or already certified production BOMs. And these four were actually the only Business Central specific things here. Because these marked with X are now generic features in our new export backend. So they are not specific to Business Central integration, but they are utilized in it. Which means we can also do other integrations having these same functionalities and even reports in the future. And this common feature set behind it will keep growing for them all. And just to clarify, they are not visible options for anything else than Business Central for now, but our Swiss Army knife of integrations just got a hell of an upgrade. So we have virtual items, that was the custom scope thing you can add, and they are treated as any components. We can do value importing, so from the ERP system to the export view, and also from the export view we can now write back to models, and that's quite a big deal. So we can actually do importing of the values to the models at export. We also support by default the multi-configuration export. We have default values for export fields as well. And then we can, because we can do the data, it can come from the CAD items, but also from the ERP items, we can define which one is the data master. And this gives us bidirectional batch import and export capability. So we can really do cool stuff with that now. Also, because we do the itemization on the backend, we have consistency checks there. So if you are grouping configurations, we can check that everything is consistent and so on, and that there are no cyclic references with your items and things like that. We can also inject new BOM lines in the export view now, so we can actually inject BOM lines that exist in the ERP system but not in your CAD BOM, so you can easily compare those. And also the field specific color indicators have a bit of an upgrade, so it's more clear what is actually going to update or be affected. Furthermore, everything is fully supported in PDM Professional, including one additional feature of being able to run it all as a silent background task. So that can be quite cool. So let's go for a demo. Okay, so let's start with the material properties, and let's go for this side panel here and its properties. Okay, so here I have selected a material teak, and this has pulled a specific treatment for it, also toxicity information, but I'm also calculating the waste, which is 10% out of the total weight, so we get 1 kilo there. If I would choose something like oak, I have a different treatment. It's still a non-toxic material, and the waste is calculated using a different value. So let me show how this is defined at the options. So here I have a standard material combo box property with a before function get materials, and this these settings make it so that you can have this custom tools property which has SolidWorks materials in it. Now before this change, it made no change, it didn't make any sense to have a lookup list attached to that kind of property as well, but now when we attach a lookup list, we can actually do value matching with this lookup list and the selected material, and then pull the keys here to the properties. So if we take a look at my material properties lookup list, it is a standard key value list, and the values here simply match with the SolidWorks material name. So that's how we can do matching of those values, and then we can pull the additional properties to different custom properties. You can see, for example, the toxicity, how it's defined here. So we have a get lookup list column function of the material property, and we pull the toxicity out of that. Then the custom scopes. So virtual item is a bit heavy to start with, so let's start with the color. So I have defined a model property color, and then I have defined possible variant colors that can be used. So that is a good use case for custom scope. So I have a color variant, just simply having that one property. I could have multiple properties here, but I only have one. So let's take a look how that works. Let's go to the same panel here, options, and let's set some color for it, for instance beige, but also that we define that we can use other colors as well. So let's put red, orange, and ruby red. Perfect. Okay for those, and just okay and save. Now if I go to specific report, so in this Excel report I have defined to include also those color variants. So we can see that for this left side panel we have a color page, but we also have two different variants colors we can have. And if I export this to an Excel file, you can see those going under this component. So this is how you can add some additional values to your Excel listing, or if you have routing information, it becomes under the part or whatever you want to use it for. So it's all freely configurable. Okay, so let's now go for the Business Central things. So let me first show the options. So we have a new configuration UI here. It is quite similar to the old one, but it is just quite a lot faster to interact with, and there's also some automation behind it, how everything works. We now have also the assembly BOM integration, and for this demo I did not configure the production BOM integration, just to make things a little bit more clear. It's another level of complexity to add the production BOM here as well. We can import the search group, so I import the items as a search group, and I also create a lookup list from units of measure so that I can use Business Central units in my designs. And here we have the units of measure listing as well. So these are all, and I have Finnish Business Central, so these are Finnish units. Also, we have now, as I said, the Business Central serials can be now automatically filtered, so have only allowed using the assemble, manufacture, and purchase serials that come from the Business Central. And I've also added some friendly names for them so that it's easier to select them at my profile. So it's more intuitive for the designer to use them. Okay, let's also check the export profile options that we have. So I have here a Business Central export to Business Central export profile. Here we have some new options for that as well. So we can allow or disallow creation of new item cards, and this is especially useful if the company has a kind of like an item master who is the only one allowed to create items. So then you want to disable creation of items with the export, and you need to define your workflow in a way that makes sense in that case. Here we can define which custom scope is used as virtual item, and we can also, if we have the code unit deployed, we can export previews. And here, as I said, I only have the assembly BOM integration, and I have configured everything for that. So I can also see the BOM lines that exist in the Business Central side, and I can also fully control those lines from the CAD side. Here we have for the different fields, I have defined that, for instance, for description, which is linked to the item card description. I'm never going to update the item card description from the CAD to the Business Central. Instead, I'm importing from the Business Central's item card the description and also writing it back to the model. So this is what means that Business Central is actually the data master of my description variable. So I can change my model descriptions at Business Central and import them back. And for instance, for the unit, I have defined that I have a default value when it's empty. KPL means pieces in Finnish. So it's quite often when you do migration that you might be missing some important values and you want to add a default value. So this is made for that. So now let's take a look how this actually works. So let's go with assembly and export to Business Central. And I've already exported this to Business Central once just to save some time. But as you can see, we have here two different configurations. So we have the standard version of our subwoofer, but we also have a triple configuration. So the standard one has only one woofer, but the triple is actually a three woofer configuration of that. And here we can see that all of the item cards are okay for all of these components. They are all already existing in the assembly BOM of these products. So we have CT subwoofer TT and we have CT subwoofer standard. And if you take a look at how that looks in the Business Central side, so here I have it already exported. As you can see, if I go to see the CT subwoofer standard and its assembly BOM, we can see those items already here. And there's a multi-level, so we also have the outer casing and its assembly BOM and so on. So now we can actually notice that we have here a woofer that is defined to be not an item at all. But actually this already exists in my Business Central, and I want to use that existing woofer. I don't seem to see it here because I'm not searching for purchased components. If I search for purchased component as well, we can see the woofer element actually exists as an item already. So we want to link into that item so that it becomes used also in the Business Central BOM for that. So let's go for it. So we have here woofer. I go to the properties, and here I can choose that the item type is actually an existing item instead of not an item. And now I can search for that item. So this is a live search from the Business Central. Woofer element. and we can find here the purchase woofer element, and I can just double click to link it to my properties here. OK, save and export. And now we can see how this woofer element, it is an existing item card already, and we are just going to add it to the assembly BOM of this parent here. Same applies for the other product as well, which is the triple trouble configuration. Just go for it and export. And it's done. Okay, so what we have next? Next, we can actually take a look at how it's here now updated to the assembly BOMs. So now we have the woofer element also added to the assembly BOM here. Okay, so but we also notice that actually our casing, which is the casing assembly here, is missing the back plate. So let's also demonstrate how we can add a new manufactured component and create a new component to the Business Central out of that. So what was the back side was here, so I cut corners a bit here on my design, so I'm just going to add a new part. I'm going to edit it in context and just quickly create a sketch here. Okay, and now let's go to the properties of it. And I actually went to the properties of the assembly, but we can go to the properties of the component by clicking it like that. And we get automatically the next file number, and we can also set the material as it should be. So there's materials, wood, teak. But also we need to choose an item type for it. So I tried to make this profile quite intuitive to use. So we can select that, is this a new assembled item? Is it a new purchased item? Is it an existing item? No, it's actually a new manufactured item. So when I select that, I now must define description for it. So it's a back plate. And also I need to define unit for it because the Business Central requires some unit to be defined. So I use KPL, which is pieces in Finnish. Also I want to save this as an external file and not to use it as a virtual component. And we can also actually, because this needs to be somehow put together, this whole casing, maybe we do that using glue, which we don't want to model. So let's at the same time add a virtual component or virtual item into this assembly. So I'm using the BOM additions for the assembly, and this is the virtual item thing that I was saying. So we can now add additional items to the BOM. I'm actually searching for the glue from Business Central. So we can find super glue. We can add, let's say, 10 units of super glue for that BOM. Save it. And just go back to the main assembly and export. So now we can see that we have a new manufactured component here. The item type is actually the manufac, which is going to control the serial created for this at the Business Central side, so it will be written back. When the line is bold, it means that the CAD item is going to be affected by the export. So there's going to be an import for the CAD item. And obviously it's going to have an import because the item number will be written back to it. But we also support that same thing for all the other fields as well. So this is going to be a new item card with these values seen here. It's also going to be added to the outer casing assembly. Now there's also the virtual component or virtual item that we added. So there's also going to be the super glue that was already an existing item card, and we are also going to add that to the assembly BOM. Now we can also see that the weight of the casing changed, so the item card is going to be updated because also the weight is added to the Business Central, and same applies for the main assembly and both configurations of these both different products we have here. Let's go and export this. And we are done. And now, as we can see, we got a new serial number written man0054 for the back plate. And it's added to the BOM of the outer casing as well as the super glue, and we can verify that here. We should have the outer casing. Well, it's actually both. So this is the triple outer casing. We can take a look at that as well because it's added to both of those. Here's the assembly BOM. And now we have the back plate and the super glue that was just created. Now let me show, as I said, that the description is actually controlled by the Business Central. So let's go and change some of the descriptions. For instance, the city subwoofer DT, let's say that we actually want it to be fully named like triple trouble, like that. And also we can do something like, let's say this one left side here, let's actually make this left side plate. And do we have right side plate somewhere? No, we're gonna do it for this one. Right side plate. Like that. So now I have modified descriptions of these items, and as I said, I have the description is data mastered at the Business Central side. So if I now just upgrade this or reload this export profile, or I would run it as a silent task in PDM or whatever, we can now see what's the effect. So we can see that there's actually an import only function. So again, we have this line is bold because the CAD component is going to be affected. We can see that we are importing from item card, and we can see that the description is affected. So the description will be left side plate now for this component. And at the triple trouble, we should see also the main product name has changed. Same thing, it's going to be imported, and also that right side plate is going to be imported. So if I click export, what we are doing now is actually an import and not export. And we can verify that, for instance, the left side plate, I think it's it's actually in the triple trouble configuration. The right side plate was actually changed. So we can verify that the description really has changed, and it's here. So that concludes my demo. So there would be a million things I would love to show, but unfortunately we don't have time for everything.
Then we have another one. Could you show the ghost feature?
The ghost feature? Sure. Yes. So the ghost feature refers to the fact that we can show items in export that are not in the current structure but are at the Business Central side. So for instance, I added the glue. So if I remove the glue, let's go here, and from my BOM additions, I remove the super glue. So the super glue is now at the assembly BOM at Business Central side, but not in my CAD design. And now I have defined that my CAD design has the full BOM ownership, which means that it's going to delete the glue also. So I can show how that's visible here. So we can now see that there is actually super glue at Business Central, because it's shown here that it is an assembly BOM line with this kind of ID and description and quantity. And the action that we're going to do for that is we are going to delete it because it's not present in our current structure. And I have said that my CAD structure is the master. I can also ignore those if I just change the setting for that. So in my export profile, I have defined that I will delete ghost items by default, and I have defined that I will show items that are there but not in my structure. So if I just remove the deletion, we can see the same thing, except that we are seeing the line being ignored by the export. And if you have so basically this, when we do it like this, then it allows you supplementing the Business Central assembly BOM at the Business Central site. Because if you would have full BOM ownership here at the CAD side, then you cannot supplement your BOM at the Business Central side. But if you do it like this, that you ignore the components that you have in the BOM, which allows you supplementing it, then you might have an issue that what if you export the same structure from CAD and you have removed some of the components from your CAD. So in that case, you would see also those components being ignored. But for those kind of situations, we would actually write a custom script or customization where we can detect which components are actually coming from the CAD side, which we should delete, and which components are something that are actually being supplemented at the ERP side, so which are the ones that we should ignore. So right now we have in our built-in solution we have just two options: either we ignore them or we delete them all. Yes. So for further questions, as said, you can reach me through info@customtools.info or sales@customtools.info. On behalf of the whole Custom Tools team, thank you for joining and have a nice day.
We are in the life-saving business. We kill your routines before they kill you.